I want to help him reestablish some sort of a different, route for him to go in terms of his career and whatnot. And so I had him on my podcast, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to go.
It didn't seem to me personally that there was a bunch of reflection done.
Did you see Carlos Mencia on Bobby Lee's show? It is riveting. I called Bobby when I got done with it.
I have to say, in terms of uncomfortable podcasts I've done in my life, right? Yeah. That rivaled the Carlos Mencia one.
Ooh.
The Carlos Mencia one was, for me, very uncomfortable.
Bobby Lee and Carlos Mencia are both well-known stand-up comedians who have made audiences laugh for years. However, their paths crossed in a rather unfortunate manner, with accusations of joke theft and plagiarism coming into play. In the aftermath of the controversy, Bobby Lee and Carlos Mencia engaged in a public feud. Bobby insisted that he would never accept an apology from Carlos, while Carlos maintained that the accusations were blown out of proportion and that comedians often share similar experiences and material. You'll see in the following a legendary episode with Carlos on Bobby Lee's Tiger Belly podcast. You will see Bobby actually talking to Carlos about his massive downfall. He gives him an opportunity to apologize and come clean, and after 50 minutes of just a tough conversation and uncomfortable moments, Bobby has left no choice but to actually call him out for the joke stealing.
How are you feeling now with all the controversy that had happened a decade ago? I mean, what's going on now?
14 years ago now.
14 years ago, yeah.
I realized, like, my absence from the internet in all those years allowed a narrative to be created that will never change. So my biggest regret is back in those days, when all this stuff happened, was to fight it, not fight it, but to, like, I've recorded all my shows since 1993. I don't have to fight anybody on anything. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, you're doing my joke, I could easily go, what joke is it? When did you tell it? Let me go look. And then if you did it before me, I'll stop doing it, or whatever it is. And no matter what I say,
But why not?
skip.
But Ned, why not do in the beginning just a blanket apology?
But I wasn't. See, let me get this. Understand what happened. Anytime, even to this day, bro.
Yeah.
Somebody says you stole a joke, I go, okay, well, what joke was it? Not angry. Like, what joke, dude? I write a lot.
I have seen that, but I've also seen some of your act, a little too close to things that have already been established, like the Bill Cosby bit.
Yeah.
It was definitely a tough watch, especially if you're a longtime comedy fan, and if you know the entire drama that happened between Bobby, Carlos, and Joe Rogan back in like 2008. Even Brendan Schaub speaks about this podcast with Carlos on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Speaking of stealing, did you see Carlos Mencia on Bobby Lee's show?
I did not.
It is riveting. I called Bobby when I got done with it because I wasn't around the Comedy Store in comedy when that was going down, when you guys had that.
I saw that he was on it, and I watched like a few seconds of it, but I was like, oof.
It's pretty entertaining and Bobby, he goes at him, man. It's like, you definitely stole some stuff, man, and like, you need to apologize for it. Carlos is like, the problem is, like, I'm not on the internet. I'm not on social media really.
Of course he is.
Well, he's saying like he doesn't really have a voice on there.
So an Instagram page.
Yeah, but not, he's not doing it. He's older.
On it all the time. No, I mean, he's come up with a bunch of different versions of why he is not at fault.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, I'm not defending that at all. I'm just saying it was super interesting because I only know your version, Ari's version. Bobby Lee tells me about all these stories. I've heard all these stories. I've never had any interaction with him.
He's got a few different versions. One of his versions is, I've recorded all my shows since 1993, and if I ever stole a joke, I would go back and say, listen, I could show you that I did it before you, or if I did, I'm sorry. Like, he's trying to find a way to excuse what everybody knows he did. Mm-hmm. What he was doing was copying other people's material, copying premises, and he was doing it openly.
Could it be a case where you are absorbing, unbeknownst to your consciously doing it, unbeknownst to you, you're absorbing these things, and then kind of like formulating a joke out of that thing that you didn't actively listen to. Could it be a case of that?
At that time, though, it's hard to believe that would have been the case at that time. First of all, at that time, during mine and Mencia, I wasn't at the comedy clubs like they say.
What would incentivize like a young comic, say, for instance, to say,
oh, I was hated. Listen, I was hated.
A lot of your material, I'm not saying all of it, right? And I don't even say most of it. You know what I mean? I think, I don't know percentage wise.
Sure.
But a lot of your material was a little too similar to the ilk of Paul Mooney or, Bill Hicks or,
Sure.
the Cosby thing was,
I wasn't
right. So my
inspired by
point,
those
and I know my point
Hell
though
yes.
being is that, to me, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know what the percentage of it is. Secondly, right, I was there.
Now you can start to see Bobby and Carlos going back and forth, with Carlos not really conceding to the fact that what he did was wrong.
Ned, could there be two truths? You are, to me, somebody that I idolize. You're a superstar. You're funny. You're great. But could you also have made those mistakes, and could you apologize for those mistakes?
Of course, I'm ready to apologize to the people to the people that I did this to.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
To the people that I did this to. I'm under it, no matter
sorry,
what.
go ahead.
Can I say something? So,
Yeah.
even here's the deal. It's like, when
And by the way, if I raped anybody, of course I'm fucking sorry.
yeah.
And I mean that as joke, like a joke thing.
Don't even put yourself in like
Yeah.
that like criminal
Except-
world, because it's like, to these kids maybe, or to whoever.
Yeah, but okay, look, financially
it's not
speaking,
that big.
it is a big deal. Do you know how many?
Yes,
do you know how
yes,
many
yes.
millions of dollars this cost me? Everybody, the angry part of me wants to go to these people and say, I want all you motherfuckers to line up who say that I took something from you. Did I take millions of dollars from any of you?
because the ghost is up, and when that ghost is up, we close out. So, this is how I genuinely feel about you. Okay, you obviously, I've said this. You're monumental help in my career, and I really thank you for all the things that you've done. No, just take it. Don't.
Do you want me to
answer
tell
back.
you why I did it? So
No,
you
no,
really know?
let me just finish my blanket statement. I really believe that you're one of the best performers I've ever seen. I believe that, there are certain things that you didn't consciously or unconsciously do, but I think that there were some, elements of your act that were, too similar to other people's acts. And regardless if you're conscious about it or not, it is what it is, like the Bill Cosby joke. That joke was Bill Cosby's, on, Bill Cosby himself, which is Bill Cosby's special, is like the White Album. It's like one of the most famous specials out there. You did a bit that was a little too similar to that bit.
Right.
And it's, for me, unarguable, it's unarguable to me, by having you on, I was really nervous about it, and I just feel like, we're just at a point where it might be a situation where, it might be, unfixable, which is a sad thing.
I'm really thankful that this shit happened to me and not some other comic, because I really believe that some other comic would have probably committed or done some really fucked up shit with what happened to me. I always understood why you did what you did and the perspective that you came from. I was never, ever hurt. That's not true. I was never offended, nor did I ever not understand why you chose to do what you do. My only issue with you was always, you've seen me create 20 minutes out of nothing more than once.
Mm-hmm.
It has bothered me, or sometimes, that you can see that and know that that's what I do, and then over here think that I literally lifted a bit from an iconic thing that never made sense to me. I don't understand why those two can exist in the same world in your head.
Could it be that he believes both, that you are an amazing
I do
writer?
believe both. I believe both.
Interesting.
Yeah, I believe both, and I believe both can exist.
Both can exist, but I've never held it against you.
In the end, I think it's important that Bobby confronted someone who he's had conflict with and letting us, the viewers, be a part of that. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.